Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Locked On Seminoles. Today on today's show, Dave, what are we talking about?
Drake, we are talking about the things that maybe we could have done better against LSU and need to do better going forward.
Perfect. And folks, thank you guys so much for being Locked On Seminoles at first listen each and every single day. And with that being said, let's go on with the show.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to another edition of Locked On Seminoles. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Drake here, and today I'm joined by Mr. David Wise. Davey, ¿qué pasa, mi guy?
Drake, it's in the morning right now as I'm saying this, and yeah, it's early, but it's never too early to talk about what can make Florida State football better. Try to keep it positive doing this. It's possible.
I mean, let's do that because today, folks, as you can tell from yesterday's episode, which thank you guys so much for your love and support. That was one of our better videos for the past, I don't know, ever since we started doing this. But yesterday, positivity, because quite frankly, there was a very positive moment on Sunday. Kind of kept let the good times roll, as the New Orleans folks say, laissez le bon temps rouler. But today is more of an introspection kind of day. We're going to be not being nitpicky, but there are definitely parts of this team where I think constructive criticism is actually fully needed. Now, Dave, you want to go to the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball, and you can kick us off?
Oh, no, we're starting on offense.
All right, we'll start on offense, Dave. Then you're on the first on the tee box. Take a swing at it.
Okay, so this wasn't just my observation. For example, my girlfriend noticed this. And if she notices it, and I noticed it, and you're noticing it, Jess is noticing it, and everybody's noticing that.
Yeah, Jess knows it like this.
That on first down, feels like more often than not, we're either calling or running and executing a play that is just completely ineffective and is setting back drives. So let me crunch the numbers for you on this. We had, by my count, 29 first down plays. We went for 0 yards on 35% of them. We went for 1 yard or less on 48%, 2 yards or less on 58%, and 3 yards or less on 69%.
Nice.
But that's not nice. It's not nice when 59% of your first down plays, 17 out of your 29 first down plays are going for 2 yards or less. You got to do better than that. So we were really fortunate that Jordan Travis was able to find so much magic on third down, because we had a miraculous streak of third down conversions in that game. And saying it's unsustainable probably isn't that unfair to say. Like, if you put yourself behind the chains that often, and that you're having to convert third and longs, or first of all, you're having to start with second and long and then make third and long that much more likely.
I was about to say, because it felt like a conversion rate from second and long to third and somewhat medium actually was pretty good in the game too, though.
We were converting third downs at an absurd clip still. And yeah, second downs we were doing better too. But if you just by numbers, just by math and chance probabilities, if you put yourself in a position on first down where you're not doing anything useful and you're having to get 10 yards on those last 2 downs, you're just less likely to get first downs. I mean, that's why you have 3 downs to do it before you have to punt. If you're not using one of them, you're setting yourself back. And this team is set up well, I think, especially with what we've seen out of Mycah Pittman already, to be able to convert like third and shorts pretty regularly, I think. The running game looked, obviously not against LSU, but we didn't need it as much. The running game's there. We should be able to convert third and shorts that way. Again, Mycah Pittman is finding ways to get open. Johnny Wilson is a huge target. Pokey Wilson was finding open spots on the field. So it was very frustrating to me how often, I mean, you were seeing 0 and negative yard plays on first down. Again, almost 35% of your first down plays went for 0 yards or less. More than 1 out of 3 times you snapped the ball on first down, you were going nowhere or going backwards. And that's correctable, because obviously the plays are in the playbook to do well on second and third down. Just, I don't know, maybe call some of them better on first down or just execute better.
Okay, and I think, folks, that's kind of the theme for today's episode. Is a little more. I kind of find it a little more nitpicky, but I do kind of get where Dave's saying. Where basically, like, we had a lot of 3rd and 4s and 3rd and 5s at the end of the game, which to me isn't terrible. But you're right. I mean, like, there's room for improvement, because why would you want? Like, it'd be better if you started like with 2nd and 6, maybe 2nd and 7 regularly. Which, listen, like, it helps the offense move. And like Dave was saying, the offensive line already also is kind of banged up a little bit too as well. So we kind of need as much help as we can get when it comes to basically how far down is it to go. And then once you get into ACC play, which right now to me the ACC looks extremely winnable, I think if we improve on that, and improve the offense as a whole. One thing that for me personally on the offense side of the ball that needs to be rectified is the same issue we had last year, and that's the drops. Jordan Travis had, I think, 260 yards passing on Sunday with 2 TDs. He easily could have had at least 350 for another 2 TDs, whether it be the drop by Mycah Pittman on the fade route on the goal line that we discussed yesterday, which, to be fair to Mycah, after rewatch, there was a PI on that play. The cornerback was like holding his left arm. And then you have Johnny Wilson, where Jordan put a perfectly placed ball. I don't think Johnny Wilson trusts his hands yet, or he doesn't trust his hands yet in the end zone. So that's something that I think basically I'm going to increase my booster donation to get a jug machine or another one for each individual player, because that's something that definitely needs to be rectified, because there's a lot of points left on the board. Yeah. We should have beat LSU 41-23 or whatever the final score was overall. But the drops, it was the first big-time primetime game, and this is something that basically I'm pretty sure Dugans and them probably have them back in the lab working hard. So to me, the drops need to be rectified, especially because Jordan Travis, we have seen him for, even though it's only been 2 weeks, he definitely appears to be a much more improved passer. He has shut my ass up. So to me, you got to help the guy out.
Yeah, and if you weren't listening to the TV broadcast for that game, then you missed the announcers pointing out that we carried the nation's longest red zone conversion streak into that game, and we ended up breaking it, unfortunately. But yeah, if you're, especially if you're going to get yourself, you're moving the ball, you're moving the chains consistently, you're converting third downs, and you're getting down in the red zone. One thing we know for sure about this football team is that you absolutely cannot trust Ryan Fitzgerald to kick the ball and score. You just can't. At this point, you're lucky if it's a coin flip. It doesn't matter where you are on the field, honestly. It's almost like you have to play like a 9-year-old in Madden and just like go for it on 4th down every time, or put yourself in positions where you're not having to convert long third downs. And like I said, and then suddenly, you're not getting into 4th downs as often, or the 4th down plays, you're just gonna have to figure something out, because the math's gonna tell you got to go for it with this kicking situation we have. But setting that aside, the one that really bothered me the most for Jordan was that seam route he threw to Cam McDonald that was dropped over the middle.
It wasn't dropped. It went through his hands.
I
don't think you even touch it.
that was dropped. And
I know it's a drop. I'm saying
so frustrating, because
like that.
You can't throw the ball. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning could not have thrown the ball better than that. It was put in, it was threaded this much over that DB's hands, and it was just beautiful. So yeah, it's frustrating, because there were at least 4 passes you can think of off the top of your head that would have been first downs, that would have been chunk plays, that should have been caught, and that just weren't. So Jordan Travis's stat line, if anything, is a little deflated, because he was throwing the ball great, and his receivers weren't always there for him. The only thing I can say for sure is, wow, does Mycah Pittman get open a lot underneath and over the middle? Love it.
He does. But you do know who's always there for you, Dave?
Who's there for me?
Today's title sponsor and our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs, folks, as you gear up for fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. Dave, tell us the folks about your experience with LinkedIn Jobs.
Yeah, I've used LinkedIn Jobs before to find candidates for positions for my law firm. It is not easy to figure out where to find people, and LinkedIn made that really easy. Creating the job post didn't take any time at all. it's free to just post the job. And obviously, free 30 is great with me anytime and helped find some candidates that I probably otherwise wouldn't have found.
And folks, LinkedIn Jobs helps you find candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know that every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? 40 million, that's a lot of people. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free, and for the free. Terms and conditions may apply. All right, Dave, we are back and we are rocking and rolling with your favorite daily Florida State Seminoles sports podcast. And talk about the offense. There's not much to talk about Jordan Travis. I think he had a really great game aside from basically, I think the first CD, Wilson was an underthrow and flooded a little bit. That was a great catch by Ontario. But other than that, to me, I think he had a very good game. So let's go over to the defensive side of the ball. Davey, you kick us off.
Okay. So this is definitely nitpicky because I'm going to call out an aspect of a unit that had one of the better performances on our team against LSU.
But is it a callback to probably the same concern that we had against Duquesne? Because I think I know where you're going with this.
Drake, what I wish I had seen from the defense, and specifically the defensive line, was not thinking that you need to sack the quarterback on every single play. And here's why that's important. A, you're not going to.
This is coming from the guy. This is coming from the guy that was pissed off and only had one sack against Duquesne week 0.
I was. But here's why that really mattered against a team like LSU with Jaden Daniels at its quarterback. And you're going to see this as a recurring theme throughout the year, at least twice, probably more. If you're going to try to sack the quarterback on every play, and that means your defensive ends are probably rushing straight back into the backfield, which means if the quarterback steps up, quarterback's already past him. The defensive ends have probably already ran past the quarterback. So you're going to lose contain quickly. And if you're dealing with a mobile quarterback and your ends have already moved into the backfield, kind of upfield towards the quarterback and past him, they're out of the play. I mean, they can go ahead and try to chase him down, but a guy like Jaden Daniels, for example, defensive end who's at a disadvantage, not having a head start, isn't going to chase him down. They're going to struggle to do the same with at least a couple quarterbacks on the schedule. And ironically, the very next quarterback we play, Malik Cunningham, maybe the most dangerous running quarterback we play the entire year. So the defensive ends, you got to love the aggression. And they were very effective at knocking Jaden Daniels off his spot. He was useless passing until we were only rushing 3 in a prevent defense. So kudos to them for that, obviously. But you got to know when to pick your spots and be smart as a defensive end in terms of rush versus contain against a quarterback like that. And against Malik Cunningham, you make that same mistake and rush too far upfield in the backfield, he's going to run past you every single time. So it's a tough balance to tell them be aggressive and get the quarterback, but also don't be too aggressive and make sure he runs past you. That's asking an awful lot. But it's something that this incredible defensive line, I think, is capable of. And it's something we should hope they're going to be able to do against Louisville, because we're going to need to do that.
You got to know when to fold them. You got to know when to walk away. Or in this case, don't walk away, basically hold and contain, because I'm absolutely right there with you primarily because, like, Jaden Daniels, I wanted to relegate him to use his legs, but I didn't want to relegate him to use his legs for 1,000 yards. I think he was the first LSU quarterback in their history in regulation to have 200 passing yards and 100 rushing yards.
Incredible.
LSU is a historic football program. They've been playing football since basically the Civil War at this point, I'm pretty sure, or something like that. But to me, that's absolutely right, because like Jared Verse, elite pass rusher to this point.
Mm-hmm.
But you do need to do other stuff actually in the game, because like contain wise, we do face, like you said before, Malik Cunningham, who entering into this season is going to be one of your more dangerous quarterback prospects. And then you also have to go up against Garrett Schrader, who did everything in his power to absolutely destroy Louisville. Basically, so you have 2 running quarterbacks actually on this full schedule. And I watched the Clemson game last night. I'm pretty sure Kate Klubner's going to be the starter by the time we play against him. But DJU actually is now comfortable being mobile and running around. And DJU,
hard to bring down.
He's hard to bring down. He runs like Jameis, and we all remember the Jameis run against Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
So that's someone that basically has the same kind of body and the same kind of running style. To me, like these kids need to learn that, hey, pass rushing the quarterback. It's cool, but you got to do other aspects of your job first too.
That's how you get drafted. Learn to play the run. learn to contain the quarterback. That makes you well rounded, and I think they're capable of that. This is again incredible talent on this defensive line. I think they're more than capable of it. Just gotta pick your spots.
I completely agree. And then my kind of criticism for the defense, this is basically very on brand for me because it is Adam Fuller, but I'm going to lump in Randy Shannon in there too because he is now the co-defense coordinator. What was the defense we were running for the last 2 drives of the game? The game overall, for one, we saw Jared Verse, I think, was sidelined for about 10 minutes from the third to the fourth quarter, which is something that I don't understand why that was kind of in your wheelhouse. We also saw the backups primarily in. Like, I love Malcolm Ray to death, but why is Malcolm Ray out there instead of Fabian Lovett and Robert Cooper? Like, to me, this shows that Adam Fuller kind of either, one, he's resting his players for God knows what when you're still in a very close game. Like, this is not, we were only up by 7 for both these exchanges. And then 2, the prevent defense, like Dave, I think had a very good, not very well, like observation of why we're in that prevent defense. I'll let him touch on that in a second. But overall, to me, like, I don't know why Adam Fuller all the damn time feels he has to go away from what's been working for about 45 minutes. And then for the last 15 minutes, he goes away and kind of basically goes into a shell of himself. So I kind of don't know what to actually make of that overall, because they should not be able to score from the 1-yard line all the way, move the football 99 yards in less than a minute.
Yeah, that's bad. And the execution obviously left a lot to be desired, but I understand.
That's part of that was the players too. Yeah, they were gassed, but they also, like, you can tell them were wrong spots and stuff like that too. They're not absolved either.
My comment on the rotating of like backups in for most of the fourth quarter, I'm glad you observed that because I didn't, but that's dubious to me because, like, why the whole game are you rotating fresh players in and out if it's not to give your starters the rest they need throughout the game so that they can be fresh for most, if not the whole fourth quarter? That's typically how that works. I mean, if you're telling me there's literally 0 drop off between the starters and the backups are that much more fresh, sure. I don't think there's 0 drop off. I think there's some. So yeah, that was questionable to me, but in keeping with that, I think that prevent defense we saw there at the end of the game. First of all, I think it was the coaching staff probably figured it's unlikely they're going to go 99 yards in under a minute with that guy throwing the football. That same guy that we've seen all game. Yeah, good luck. But number 2, look what happened against Jacksonville State last year when we didn't play prevent defense. I hate to bring this up again. I don't want to talk about this anymore, but we didn't run it when we should have, and it cost us a game that we should never, ever, ever lose. This game, obviously, we needed to stop them from going 99 yards. It was incredibly frustrating watching 3 guys every single play, and the announcers even pointed out, another 3-man rush. Like, if you're not going to put any pressure in Jaden Daniels' face, which the entire game we had shown caused him to be completely unable to pass, and he just had to run and take off and hope for the best. And it worked more often than not, but he couldn't pass. So it makes sense in that you're trying not to let anything get behind you. And the whole game, we didn't let anything get behind us, which, again, prevents just making extra sure of that. But apparently we didn't need to do that because the whole game with nothing got behind us. So frustrating. I understand why you wouldn't want to let a redo of Jacksonville State happen, although it's LSU, not Jacksonville State. It could have been a little more aggressive. Mix in a couple blitzes or rush 4 on a couple plays.
Yeah, I think it's more the fact that, like, I don't think that Jaden Daniels was capable, as you're saying, of actually making a Jacksonville State moment, because you did see he did have some really, really nice throws. Like the one to Keyshawn Boutte that he kind of made a business decision not to catch it because Akeem Dent was about to, like, shed into the shadow realm with the hit over the middle. But other than that, it was mainly Jaden Daniels' legs that kind of kept them in the game. So I make him pass at that point. Because if he's under duress and he has to get out the pocket, that's fine. I'd rather him do that and waste more clock. But that's just me. I'm not a defense coordinator. And now that we have the defense side of the ball wrapped up, let's go over and talk about the coaching decisions, because there's one particular famous one that we'll talk about right after the break that basically had me and Dave almost just basically texting each other like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to us again. Okay, Dave?
Yep.
We're here at the end of the show, and we are finally going to talk about the infamous. Do you want to talk the pitch play? Do you want to talk the fade route? What do you want to go with first? We won't talk about special teams because I think touching about it enough with Ryan Fitzgerald, and I think the kid understands he needs to kick better. So
No. I'm not here for that. No, we need a new kicker. I'm not doing that anymore. We need a new kicker. I refuse to believe that in the state of Florida, where there's a lot of quality high school soccer talent, that we can't find a single damn kid that can kick better than this. Like, I'm sure FIU's kicker is better than this. Sure, FAU's. I don't even need to know who they are. But setting that aside, that's what we have at our disposal right now. Obviously, there's 3 plays that stand out. There's the Mycah Pittman fade. There's the decision not to kick the field goal right before half. And then there's the pitch.
Well, the
play.
fade and the field goal are the same.
They're consecutive, or right. They are the same. Yeah. Sorry. Still the decision. And then obviously at that pitch play. So I want to start though with that 4th down decision. I saw it posted on Twitter. Apparently, like based on the math of like expected outcomes, going for it there was the right call, supposedly. I just, in my gut, I don't like that. I mean, I understand it's conservative, but it's a low scoring game. And up to that point, it had seemed as though the defense was going to be the determining factor.
And points were at a premium too. So
yeah. So I'm taking the points in that spot. And obviously hindsight's 2020. That would have been the difference in the game. The decision to go for it, I understand it. I'm not happy about it, but I understand it, especially in retrospect. Not happy about it. But the decision to throw the fade to Mycah Pittman, I understand he should have caught that ball. He should have. It was a great throw. But I don't like
it was a freaking dart. It was beautiful. It was nice.
But Mycah Pittman's the kind of shifty inside player that you could probably have gotten on like a pivot or like a cross. And I just feel like if you're going to throw it to Mycah Pittman on that play, there's easier ways to put him in space where he's not having to make such a difficult contested catch.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there are definitely better play calls he could have done there overall, honestly.
Or choices like you have the tallest player on the field. I don't know, maybe throw it up to him and see what happens, right? I mean, we did try that later in the game and that didn't work. But that's why they call it a 50-50 ball. They should come down with it half the time. And if you try it to him twice, should come down with it once.
You could try to pitch it. That I would actually. What's funny is I don't think I would have been as mad with a pitch there because like I personally am with you. I would have preferred the field goal with the 3 points going into half, getting the ball back because we knew we were getting the ball back with everything else. But I mean, it's the difference between doing a pitch play there at the end of the half because there's a reason why, like me and Dave, for those who don't know, are huge baseball fans. The reason why certain pitchers pitch the 7th and the 8th inning, but they don't pitch the 9th because it takes a different mentality. And like if you know you're closing something out and you let that go into your head, it's going to affect your performance. So to me, probably a pitch play might have worked there. But to me, overall, go for the field goal, get the 3, or just call a better play call. Stop calling these weird. Don't get too cute in the red zone. That's what you against Jacksonville State.
Yeah, sometimes you get so cute with it that you confuse yourself.
Exactly.
It felt like that's what was happening there. But yeah, so that's one just defining moment, decision-wise and execution-wise of that game. Obviously, the second one is that pitch play. Now, Drake, if you were to go on Twitter after the game, you would see plenty of people justifying, and plenty of people who know stuff about football, Danny Cannell being an obvious example, tweeting about this, saying that pitching the ball in that spot, there was absolutely nothing wrong with that. According to Danny Cannell, he said he's played for 3 or 4 Hall of Fame coaches, and every single one of them had a pitch play in their goal line playbook. I believe that. But what I also know is that there's a reason that you see the option less and less in college football. And I suspect it has something to do with the fact that when you're just putting the ball in play, it's more dangerous. That's probably one of those reasons. Pitching the ball is just inherently more dangerous than literally handing it to somebody. We had done plays. We had done that DJ Lundy play earlier in the game when we needed that 1 yard. That worked real well. I'm not saying that has to be your play call there, but it's just an example that there were other options for that play other than just a toss sweep. I don't know, man. There may be some good reason for it. And then maybe you should keep that in the goal line playbook. Obviously the execution was totally just not there, but hand it to the fullback again. Maybe I'd like to know that we're able to do that. I'd like to know that we have options on 4th and short or 3rd and short or on the goal line other than just let's try this risky play and see what happens.
Yeah, and I think overall, like with Danny Cannell's thing, I'm like, he's right. I mean, he does work, but also he threw it to work done.
Yeah.
Trayshawn Ward, I love the kid to death, but he's not work done. And with Trayshawn Ward, like obviously Trayshawn Ward, he took his eyes off the ball. The fumble was primarily his fault, his responsibility. But also, you're not supposed to. This is something that Chris has Norvell time and time with his in-game decisions. Sometimes, for some reason, he just always gets way too bogged down in advanced analytics, statistical, and the numbers. And the numbers are there to supplement your reasoning. It's not to be your sole reasoning because you don't win a football game with an Excel sheet. You just don't. And overall, to me, that's where basically, like you're saying, maybe do a fullback, maybe do an inside zone. You can just do that as well. Or
Jordan Travis.
You can run Jordan Travis. You do a run play option where he just rolls out. And if he doesn't get a touchdown, you get the field goal and you're up by 10.
Mhm.
Or maybe, because we saw it last year in the Wildcat, actually, and the year before against UNC, put Wyatt Rector in a Wildcat and just let him go in there because overall he had a hell of a game on special teams. Maybe reward the kid with a touchdown because that kid was on fire on Sunday.
Yep.
So to me, overall, there are other decisions to make. And to me, he somehow found a way to pick the most riskiest one. And that might be just something with his with the way he coaches the game. He's always gambling himself out there, which is fine. But you don't need to be cute every single damn time. Sometimes just keeping it simple is just the right thing to do, especially when you're in a close game. Like, quite frankly, if Shaheem Brown doesn't block that kick, we'll be having a different discussion the past few days.
Yeah, for sure. If those plays had worked, either or both of those plays, the fade to Mycah Pittman or the toss sweep to Trayshawn Ward, if either of those plays had worked and we'd scored on one of them, then we probably wouldn't be having this same conversation. But in a sense, it's not a bad thing because I think lessons will probably have been learned by both of those outcomes that will help us the rest of the year.
But, and he even admitted about the toss sweep that he said he's not going to call that again in that situation, which is fair.
I'd like them to be learning in practice more than in real game situations. Like, I just wish they had known better than that because the reality is we dominated that football game. Said it yesterday. I rewatched the game. We dominated LSU in that football game. Should never have been in a spot where it came down to blocking an extra point for us to win in regulation. Had we kicked either of those field goals or scored on either of those two plays, had we put points on the board in either of those two goal to go situations, we would not have been holding on for our dear lives at the end. Yeah. And we're going to be in that situation probably again this year where the outcome of a game is in flux at the end. And I just hope that we haven't made another decision like that we look back at and said, wow, that was so foreseeable and avoidable.
No, I completely agree. And I think that's why basically the way that win was very emotional. It took a lot out of everybody. And there's definitely a lot on film that basically to look at positively is a lot more positive than negative. And I also think the negative is very easily rectifiable for the players and the coaching staff. But folks, as always, thank you so much for your time today on Locked On Seminoles versus each and every single day. Your team with us as the experts every single day. With that being said, Dave, please give the folks the YouTube instructions, podcast instructions, and let the folks know how much we love them.
Well, we know you guys are finding us because we have had a lot of views and listens on our show lately, and we love you and appreciate you for that. For your podcast, you can find us anywhere podcasts are found: Stitcher, Google, Apple, what am I missing? Spotify, of course. For YouTube, if you like the video, please give it a like. Takes 2 seconds. Subscribe to the channel. Ding the little bell at the top. It'll give you a notification when our videos drop. And leave us a comment. If you disagree about any of these kind of controversial topics about what the team could have done better, we want to hear your take. We want to talk about it. We love reading your comments, and we love thinking about them for Mailbag Mondays.
And we love each and every single one of you. So please let the comments go down. Tomorrow's show, most likely we'll be discussing the Roger Curtis situation. Spoiler alert, I do think he's going to be decommitting within the week or the following week. But I think DJ Chester coming from Eagles Christ Landing, one of the top 50 players in the country, might soften the blow. And also I saw that Brian asked about Fabian Lovett. As far as I can know, I've been told that Fabian's going to be just fine for against Louisville. So, folks, we will see you tomorrow. We're actually going to be having a very special guest later on in the week. An old friend is stopping by. And also, we're going to have Danny Domino with a live gambling show preview for those of you degenerates out there to basically win you some damn money because this past weekend treated us very nicely here at Locked On Seminoles. But that being said, this was Drake, and that was Dave, and we'll see y'all next time on Locked On Seminoles. Take care, everybody.